Well, it's the end of an era. No matter what anyone says, Game of Thrones is a staple of the landscape, and I think always will be. An achievement in filmmaking and television and what can be done with the medium. Game of Thrones will be missed. Love it or hate it. Maybe you didn't watch it, but hey, you know about it. I'm Marilyn, and this is Movies That Were Almost Good. And today we're talking about episode 6, the series finale of Game of Thrones, the Iron Throne. And there's a lot of controversy about this episode. I feel like controversy and Game of Thrones just kind of go hand in hand. There's always something going on. The controversy of this episode has to do with, of course, the ending. And some fans love it, some fans hate it, some fans are just kind of glad it's over, some fans are really sad it's over. I don't really know where I fall. I feel almost ambivalent about the ending. Like, oh, that thing that I loved, that I gave almost 10 years of my life to, it's over now. Okay, time to find something new, I guess. You guys should leave recommendations for new shows for me to watch, by the way. All in all, the episode itself is, to me, a typical episode of Game of Thrones. It's pretty tight. The writing's there. The cinematography is fire. Oh my gosh, this is, to me, the best Game of Thrones has ever looked this season. Maybe that's why they had to kill 2 dragons, because they needed that CGI budget. Either way, the episode looks amazing. Acting-wise, I think all of the actors do a fantastic job this episode. The standout for me is Emilia Clarke. I feel we have really seen her come into her own in these last 2 seasons and really find herself as an actress and really find a pocket or a niche for Daenerys. And she sat in it this episode. The scenes where Dany's giving her dictator-esque speeches, Emilia does very well. She looks like she is definitely a cult leader that doesn't know that she's a cult leader. There's an emptiness in the eyes, and just the way that she speaks is very strange and scary. It's very threatening while she's smiling, and I think that that's difficult to achieve, but also very, very interesting. Again, very expressive acting choices on Emilia's part, so that's nice. Of course, I did have some issues with this episode. That's why my channel exists, to talk about things that I would have redone or rewritten. And you can always say, Marilyn, who are you to rewrite episodes? You didn't go to film school. It's true, I did not. I'm just a casual fan who knows what they like to see on television. In terms of rewriting, there's only a few moments that in this particular episode that really stand out for me. And I think that's because this is not just a series finale, this is a season finale. So it's a product of all of the episodes that came before it. So I feel like there are no issues that you could fix in this episode without editing the episodes before them. Does that make sense? And a big part of that, I think, is, again, the season just should have been longer. I feel like we didn't get to rest with Daenerys' quote-unquote madness. It doesn't feel earned to have her just start tearing at the seams a little bit, and I don't feel we actually got to Targaryen madness. I feel like we were just skating on the edges of it, like starting to see these little bitty cracks in Daenerys' facade. Not quite to Aerys Targaryen, burn them all madness. We never really got there, and maybe that's the point. Maybe that's what the writers were trying to talk about, killing Daenerys before it got that bad. So let's talk about what I think could have been done differently this episode that maybe would have been set up in a prior episode. I think the collision between Jon and Dany was expected. And like I talked about in my last video, I'll link it down in the description below. I feel like the collision between Jon and Dany wasn't as earned as it could have been because we didn't focus on Jon enough in the last episode. And I was still confused by Arya in this episode, like I was in the last one. Where did Arya's horse go? Why was she still in King's Landing? I thought she was kind of riding off. maybe she was just trying to get clear of the damage. I think maybe that's an explanation. But to have John be the one to kill Danny, I think we needed more of his reaction to the carnage and the violence in the Bells instead of just in this episode. His confrontation with Grey Worm, I think, was really great. It was really tense. I think I kind of held my breath for a moment, like, oh, are they going to subvert my expectations? Or is Grey Worm going to be the one to kill John? Because that's not where I thought this episode was going. But no, Danny gives her very strange Jonestown-esque speech. The Dothraki cheer, the Unsullied pound their spears, Grey Worm gets a promotion, and Tyrion, ever the drama queen, throws his hand of the kingpin down. I feel like this was also kind of a misstep. I think Tyrion should have been killed right then and there. I feel like if Danny was truly snapping, if she was truly mad and on the edge, I feel like she would have turned to Grey Worm and been like, hey, cut this guy in half because he's getting on my nerves. And I feel like that should have been that. I think a fitting end for Tyrion to die where his siblings died. Seeing Danny in the throne room, although I knew she would never sit on the Iron Throne, there was a moment when she was in there that I really, truly believed. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this moment. Danny's going to sit on the Iron Throne. It's going to be great. She's going to die, really shortly after, but at least she'll get to sit on it. And of course, we're denied that moment, but she did at least get to touch it. There's, of course, that line about how she thought the throne was originally made of 1,000 swords, much like the actual throne in the books is made of over 1,000 swords and is like a mountain that constantly cuts Joffrey when he sits on it. I found the entire conversation between Daenerys and Jon really great, again, mainly because of Emilia's acting. I think she just did a fantastic job. The little transitions, the little facial expressions in between really warm and loving to just chilling and cold. I think she just executed those extremely well. Kit, I don't think has been really given good material this season, so I don't really view him doing anything revolutionary with his acting. It's like, oh, we still got sad boy Jon Snow. Okay. In the words of Miranda Priestley, groundbreaking. The death of Daenerys, expected, not wanted, not particularly needed, but expected. And I think I almost expected it to happen exactly this way. I was still sad, mainly when Drogon started pushing on Daenerys' body. It evoked kind of a lot of people have made this comparison as well. The Lion King, when Simba's trying to wake Mufasa. So that was really, really sad. Kind of hits you right in a primal area. Really effective. And again, this is the best CGI on the dragons, I think, in the entirety of the show. So very realistic, very chilling, very sad. Here's, I think, my second misstep in the episode. I think Jon should have died, right there. That should have been the end of both Danny and Jon, and the Targ line. We're really going to break the wheel. We're going to get rid of any hints of Targaryen madness. Let's get rid of Danny and Jon. Just wipe them both out. And I think it would have been really interesting to have Jon be killed by fire. Because we know within the context of the show, Jon is not fireproof. We've seen him get burned by a lantern at some point. I think it was in season 2. But either way, Jon's not fireproof. And technically, Danny shouldn't be either. But I'm not sure if the writers of the show remembered that little fact. So it would have been interesting maybe to have them both burn together. And Jon still holding Danny in his arms. I think that would have been a nice fitting end to their family line to finally die fire and blood, But of course not. We can't have that. Drogon takes Daenerys' body and flies off. I feel like that's a definite hanging thread, knowing that Kinvara, the priestess of Volantis, is still in play. Will the people of Westeros see Dany and an army of undead dragons in 10 years? Or are we just going to pretend that everything's okay? Jon's in prison. Tyrion is technically in prison. We meet with the Lords of Westeros. Edmure Tully shoots his shot, and shot is immediately blocked by Sansa, which, good for her. I was confused why Tyrion was allowed to speak for as long as he was, if he's a prisoner and in chains. But I guess, Tyrion. about the choice of Bran being king, I had that spoiled for me. I read the leaks, so I wasn't surprised. I think I would have been really shocked had I not read the leaks. I think I would have been surprised had I not read the leaks. I don't know how I feel about the choice of Bran as king. A lot of people have tried to explain it to me in a really rational way. He's the memory, he's the past, present, and future. He's this, he's that. I don't know. Bran is not my first choice. But subverting my expectations, maybe my first choice should not have been the choice for the throne. And also, so I'm not a writer on Game of Thrones, so it's not my choice. Someone put on Twitter that at the end of the day, this was a story about the Starks and a story about good triumphing over evil. I don't know about the second part, but I do understand the first part, and I don't think I realized that maybe when I was watching the show. But with this ending, I mean, everything does come up stark. You have Jon with the wildlings ruling the lands that's always winter. You have Sansa in the north. The north is free and independent. You have Bran ruling as king of 6 kingdoms. And you have Arya traveling west and ruling maybe whatever's over there. So I think at this end, everything does come up stark. Really pleased that Sansa got the North. I think of all the arcs in the show, I think hers is the most complete, the most finessed, I think, and it's the one that I think makes the most sense. Sansa deserved the North, and her coronation outfit was flames. So when you walk in with a stunt queen outfit, I think you should get to pull a stunt. Good for her. Arya going west feels a little strange to me. All of the things she's done to try and get home, that feels a little negated. But, who knows? Jon going further north with Tormund also feels just a little bit strange to me. Is he skipping out on his duty to the Night's Watch, which I don't know what his duty to the Night's Watch would be. I don't know what the Night's Watch is watching. But it feels strange for him to leave. Because Jon is someone who has always tried to honor his oaths. He hasn't always been good at it, but he at least tries. And it feels strange just to see him kind of maybe abandon his oath. Or, we didn't actually see him take an oath, so maybe he's not abandoning anything. I don't know. It was nice to see him pet Ghost as well. All in all, I think just major questions I had at the end of this. What happened to the Dothraki? How are they going to assimilate into the society? Are they going to be able to? I didn't realize Dany still had that many Dothraki as she did at the end, but I wonder what happens to them. Is anyone going to tell Grey Worm and the Unsullied about the crazy butterfly disease on Nath? Any, foreigners that go to Nath typically die because there is a disease carried by the butterflies there. So that makes me nervous. And finally, what happened to Daenerys' body? What happened to Drogon? I know we heard Bran say they were heading east, but where east? Valyria? Volantis? Ashai? There's a lot of options over there. And I don't think any of them are good for the 7 kingdoms, or for the 6 kingdoms, excuse me. If someone does bring Dany back to life, I think that would be very, very interesting. To see maybe her as a fire equivalent to the Night King or something. I think that'd be really, really fascinating. Why didn't any of the other kingdoms ask for their independence? I think that's a big question. Because we know that Dany had already kind of made a deal with Yara about the Iron Islands getting their independence. I'm not sure Dany would have gone through with that deal, given how she was feeling near the end there. But I found it curious that Yara didn't push for her nation's independence. And if she had, I think Dorne would have as well. At least those two, not only in the north. I think I have more questions than answers regarding Game of Thrones. You can't really rewrite this episode without rewriting the season. But those are just a few of them. Let me know you guys' lingering questions in the comments, or any lingering thoughts you have about the season. Did you like the ending? Did you hate the ending? I don't know. Let me know. This is movies that were almost good, Subscribe if you want to. This is our last Game of Thrones. Well, I won't say that. Who knows? I may go back and do some of the other episodes. But right now, this is my final Game of Thrones video. I plan on covering more actual movies in the future. So stick around for that. Thanks, guys. Bye.